So now we're at the point where Solomon offers 1,000 offerings. And this is usually the section that I've heard used to encourage people to give. You know, that Solomon gave 1,000 offerings and that God was pleased with his offering, and God asked him, that's Solomon, what do you want? Ask and I'll give it to you. Now, I have no doubt that God was pleased with Solomon's offering. It said so, that God was pleased. But I believe, though, that there were many other reasons beyond the quantity of his offering that made God to be pleased with him. First was Solomon's heart. He loved the Lord and followed the decrees of his father David. David was famously described as a man after God's own heart. This accolade came from God himself. In fact, here are some of David's last few charge to Solomon in terms of his personal walk with God. It was about wholehearted devotion to God. So in 1 Chronicles 28 verse 9, it told Solomon, acknowledge the God of your father and serve him wholeheartedly with a willing mind, for the Lord searches every heart. So these were the things that David taught Solomon. God is looking at your heart, not just your outward appearance or your performance or your sacrifice or your offerings. And as we know, God chose David to replace Saul on the basis of his heart, his love for God. It appears to me that David poured a lot into young Solomon in understanding how the heart is the most important part of our walk with God. It's from here that everything else flows. Our worship, our devotion, our kindness, our generosity. It's not the other way around. Then David prayed. And as an excerpt of this prayer that I want to quickly share before moving on to the next point. This is in 1 Chronicles 29. You can read the entire chapter. I think it'll be useful, but I'll just read verse 19. And it says, I know, my God, that you examine the heart and you rejoice when you find integrity there. This gets me all the time, that God searches the heart and rejoices when he finds integrity there. This was the kind of legacy that David passed on to Solomon, a heart of integrity and devotion to God. Second thing that I believe was pleasing to God was the offering itself. But it wasn't actually just about the quantity of the offering, but the type of offering. Solomon gave 1,000 burnt offering. Why is this important? See, in Leviticus, there were 5 different types of offerings that God instructed Moses to tell the children of Israel about. So the burnt offering, then we have the grain offering, the peace offering, then we have the sin offering, and the guilt offering. Each one of this is very different and for very specific reasons. And I'll give a description, very brief, of each